Discipline is not something you do once and hope everything changes. Discipline doesn't stem from a fleeting feeling or a random burst of inspiration. It's not a sense of excitement simply because you wake up with an elevated mindset. Discipline is a daily choice, a quiet commitment you make to yourself. And I'm not saying this to make you feel proud or motivated. I want you to understand that this is a truth that very few people are willing to accept. Discipline is not the emergence of comfort when you wake up in the morning. It's not the time when you feel energized and ready to do everything. Discipline is determination, consistent action, day by day, no matter how you feel. You won't feel the changes immediately. You won't see the difference right away. But what you are building is a solid foundation for achieving great success in the future. You must work in silence, not waiting for recognition from others. There won't always be someone standing beside you applauding, cheering you on. You won't always receive praise, but because no one sees, you are the one who understands best who you are becoming. And because no one sees, you have the opportunity to create real change in your life. You are building a new identity, a new person, not through what others say, but through what you do in those quiet moments. It is these moments when you reject comfort and choose what's right that truly matter. When you act not because you feel ready, but because you've decided to act, you will never have to look for motivation outside yourself. People often say, "I will start when I have time," or "I will try when I feel motivated." These words are dangerous traps. They make you procrastinate, making you think success comes from waiting for the right feeling. But the truth is, if you wait for the right feeling, you will never act. You will wait forever, living in passivity, and never become the person you want to be. You are allowing emotions to control your life instead of letting commitment and discipline lead you. Emotions are ever-changing forces in your life. One day you might feel full of energy and happiness, but the next day everything could change. Emotions are not something you can rely on to decide your actions. Discipline is the refusal of temporary feelings, the ability to see what is right and persist in doing it no matter how you feel. Emotions may change, but commitment to discipline does not. When you act, even without inspiration, you are building your own identity, a strong and unwavering identity. True success comes from discipline. Only discipline can help you overcome challenges and stay on course, no matter how many obstacles lie in your path. It's not a spontaneous decision or a fleeting comfort. It's steadfast commitment, a choice not easily made, a decision to live the way you've chosen, no matter what's happening around you. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward, even when no one is watching, no one is cheering you on. So if you truly want to change your life, you must choose discipline every day. Don't wait for the right feeling. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for motivation to come. Act now, even if you don't feel ready. Act even if you don't feel interested. Commitment to discipline will yield results, and those results will bring you motivation. Don't let today's circumstances dictate your life. Let the consistent actions and discipline in ordinary days help you build a better future. If you are truly serious about change, I want you to act today. Don't wait any longer. We can talk about change, but nothing will change for you if you don't act. Now, if you feel motivated by what I've said, leave a comment below this video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts on discipline and how you'll apply it in your life. Don't just listen, take action and become someone who is steadfast, someone committed to themselves. Discipline is not a temporary action, not something you do to achieve a short-term goal and then abandon. Discipline is a way of life, a method you apply every day to overcome challenges, to build a strong and resilient person. When I think of discipline, I don't think about the great actions I've taken, but about the small, daily decisions I've made to maintain my system. Those actions don't require the attention of others, no applause or praise. They just need perseverance, commitment, and the understanding that if you don't do these things every day, you won't be able to achieve the great success you desire. Discipline is not a temporary strategy to achieve a goal. It's not the decisions you make when you feel motivated. Discipline is a choice you must make every day. It's waking up every morning and working no matter how you feel. It's rejecting comfort, rejecting external factors that might make you distracted and not do the work you need to do. Discipline is a commitment to yourself that you will never stop, never give up, no matter how things around you change. And that's why discipline is a way of life, not just a temporary action. If you want success, you must build it from daily habits. Every small action, every decision you make brings you one step closer to your goal. I'm not saying this to inspire or motivate you. I'm talking about the reality I've gone through. And I want you to understand that discipline is the determining factor. You won't see the results right away, but if you maintain discipline, you will see a clear change over time. What matters is not the emotions you feel during the process, but the actions you take, even when you don't feel inspired, even when you don't feel motivated or cheered on. Persistence in those small actions is what determines ultimate success. Discipline is how you react to difficulty, how you stick to what you've decided to do. This doesn't mean you have to become rigid, someone who lives by a system that cannot change. It means you must know when to stand firm in your decisions and when to adjust to continue growing. Discipline allows you to do what you know is necessary, no matter what your feelings are at the time. When you live with discipline, you don't face emotional struggles or confusion about choices. You just do what needs to be done. I've met many talented people, many people with immense potential, but they didn't succeed not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked discipline. They started with passion, they began with exciting goals, but then quickly gave up when things got tough. They couldn't maintain the persistence and discipline necessary to overcome the challenges they faced. This is something many people don't realize. They think motivation is enough. But the truth is, motivation won't last long. It fades after a while, and without discipline, you won't be able to maintain what you've started. Discipline is what keeps you going when things get tough. It's not what makes you feel happy or full of energy every day. It's what helps you push through fatigue, disappointment, and the times when you don't feel like you can continue. That's why discipline is a way of life, not a temporary action. When you live with discipline, you don't act only when you feel like doing it. You act because you've committed to yourself and your goals. I'm not talking about working non-stop 24 hours a day with no rest, no relaxation. I'm talking about creating a system, a habit that you can maintain long-term. You must be able to do the things you know are important, even when you don't feel interested or motivated. Discipline is the daily choice to create positive habits and continue maintaining them, regardless of any difficulties or emotions that might arise. You must learn to set big goals, but also know how to persist in taking small steps throughout that process. Discipline is doing the small things every day to achieve big goals. It's dedicating time every day to learning, improving yourself, working for what you believe in. It's never giving up, even when you feel tired, unmotivated, or face failure. Discipline is choosing to live purposefully with persistence and focus on what you want to achieve. It's a commitment not only to your goals, but also to yourself. When you live with discipline, you are building a solid identity, an identity that cannot be shaken by external factors. And I want you to understand that discipline is not something you can learn once and stop. Discipline is an ongoing process. It's a habit that must be maintained every day, no matter how you feel. What matters is not your emotions today, but the actions you take to get closer to your goal. And when you maintain discipline over a long period, you will realize that you have changed. You are no longer the person who starts with passionate plans but quickly gives up. You are the person who acts persistently, never giving up, never backing down. Discipline is not cruelty or restriction. It's the strength that helps you maintain what you've committed to. Discipline helps you stay persistent, helps you not give up when things get tough, and when you have discipline, you can overcome any challenge life throws at you. Discipline is the key to achieving your goals. Remember that discipline is a way of life, not a temporary action. Step backs don't always come from big failures or clear falls. Sometimes a step back is simply waiting for the right feeling. Waiting for the right feeling to begin to act, to do the things you know you need to do. But the right feeling is not a factor that determines whether you succeed. The right feeling is not what moves you forward. It's action and discipline that do that. If you're still waiting to feel ready, you're wasting a lot of time, because the truth is, the right feeling will never come naturally. It doesn't appear when you expect it. You cannot rely on feelings to decide when you'll start, when you'll act, because feelings change every day, every hour. I don't know about you, but I've never started a big project or taken on an important task only when I felt motivated. I know that if I wait for the right feeling, I will never get anything done. The right feeling is only what you experience when everything is going smoothly, when everything is on track. But if you live waiting for the right feeling, you'll never achieve anything great. Success doesn't come from emotional bursts. It comes from determination, perseverance, and the commitment you have to yourself. I don't wait for the right feeling. I act even when I don't feel ready, and that's why I can achieve what I desire. When you wait for the right feeling, you lose control of your life. You let emotions and hesitation decide your future rather than you taking charge and deciding exactly what you need to do. Successful people aren't those who always feel ready, but those who understand that preparation and discipline will lead them to success no matter what their emotions are at the time. They understand that the right feeling won't come on its own. It must result from consistent actions, even without euphoric feelings, even without external encouragement. If you wait for the right feeling, you're making a foolish mistake. You're letting mood and emotions dictate your actions rather than letting discipline and commitment guide you. Everything in life begins with action. You can't wait until you feel ready. You can only begin with small steps, even when you don't feel fully prepared. In fact, when you start acting, when you dive into work, even without the right feeling, that's when you start to feel ready. The right feeling is not something you wait for to start, it's something you experience during the action. It's like when you start building a house. You can't wait until the house feels perfect in your mind before you begin building. You have to start laying one brick at a time, even when you don't see the complete picture. And as you lay each brick, you gradually see clarity and the right feeling emerge along the way. Waiting for the right feeling is like waiting for the conditions to be ideal to start, but the world doesn't work that way. Conditions will never be ideal, and you'll never feel perfect to begin. Life isn't always convenient or comfortable, and if you only act when everything feels perfect, you'll never do anything. Don't let short-term emotions or external factors decide when you'll begin. Act now, and as you do, you'll see the right feelings gradually follow. The step back happens when you keep waiting for a feeling that will never come. Those who don't act immediately will always find reasons to procrastinate, to wait until the conditions are perfect, to wait until everything feels right. But the truth is, there is no perfect time to begin. Everything can always be better, but there is never a perfectly ideal time. You have to create your opportunities, create the right time by acting even when you don't feel ready. When you start acting, you'll realize you've been ready all along. You just didn't recognize it. When I start big projects, I don't wait for the perfect feeling, don't wait for complete preparation. I act immediately despite not feeling ready. That's why I can do things that seem impossible. I don't let emotions or hesitation slow my progress. That's the difference between those who live in illusion and those who actually act to achieve their goals. Let go of the habit of waiting for the right feeling and start acting today. You'll realize that when you act, everything will gradually become clearer. You won't feel unprepared anymore. The right feeling only comes when you start, when you step into action. Don't wait for perfection, don't wait for motivation, start today, and the right feeling will come gradually as you take action. Step back only happens when you let hesitation, emotions, and procrastination control your life. If you want success, you have to start acting right away, no matter what you feel at the moment. Discipline is not a temporary factor or a short-term goal. It's not something you do when you feel motivated or when everything is easy. Discipline is an unconditional commitment to the person you want to become. It's not an action that happens only when you feel motivated or excited. It's a decision you must make every day. It's a commitment to yourself that you won't give up, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how tired you feel, or how much energy you lack. Discipline is doing what's right even when no one is watching, even when you don't receive recognition or praise. Discipline is living consciously with your goals, with the person you want to become in the future, and working tirelessly to achieve those goals. Every action you take in life, no matter how small, should be directed toward that goal. That's why discipline is not a temporary factor, but an integral part of every decision you make. You can't achieve sustainable success without discipline. No one can become their best version without commitment to themselves, without the self-awareness and discipline to maintain positive actions every day. Discipline is commitment to the person you want to become, And to do that, you need a clear vision of your goals. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know the person you want to become, you won't have the motivation to maintain discipline. A disciplined person doesn't simply work hard. They know that every action, every decision, every choice affects their future. They don't wait until they feel motivated. Instead, they act because they've committed to themselves and what they want to achieve. I've worked with many talented people, many with great potential, but they couldn't move forward, couldn't succeed because they lacked that commitment. They lacked the discipline to maintain persistence, to overcome the difficulties and challenges. One day they feel excited and determined, but the next day when difficulties arise, they quit. They didn't have an unconditional commitment to the person they wanted to become. And because they lacked that commitment, they never achieved what they desired. That's why discipline is far more important than talent or luck. Discipline is what helps you overcome every challenge, helps you hold steady to your goal, and move forward despite all difficulties. Discipline is not something you do once and then rest. It's not a temporary decision. Discipline is a continuous commitment with no stopping, no quitting. Every day you wake up, you recommit to yourself that you'll do what's right, no matter how difficult it is. You commit to staying on course, not letting emotions or circumstances change your decision. Discipline is not something you do when you feel excited. It's something you do because you've decided to live consistently and steadfastly with what you believe in. The right feeling is not important. If you only act when you feel motivated, you will never succeed. That's why discipline is more important than everything else. It doesn't rely on emotions, it doesn't rely on circumstances, but on a commitment to yourself. That commitment doesn't change over time. It's not affected by emotions or situations around you. When you commit to discipline, you no longer have to look for motivation outside. You create your motivation from within yourself, from determination and unceasing commitment. I know that discipline is not easy. It requires persistence, patience, and the ability to refuse short-term comfort in order to achieve long-term results. But that's the price of success. If you want to become someone with vision, someone capable of achieving great things, you must have discipline. You must understand that there is no substitute for discipline. You can't just do what's easy. You must do what's necessary. And sometimes what's necessary is not easy. Discipline is unconditional commitment to the person you want to become. And that person is not perfect. They are determined, able to do what's right, even when no one is watching. You must commit to yourself that you won't give up on important things, no matter how many temptations or challenges come your way. And when you do that, you'll begin to notice the change within yourself. You'll become the person you've always wanted to be, a person with inner strength, someone who can face every difficulty without ever turning back. Discipline is how you live each day. It's not the one action you take when you feel motivated, but the repeated actions, day by day, week by week, month by month. It's not sudden change, but gradual change through small actions, through unceasing persistence. And when you maintain discipline, you'll never worry about whether you have enough motivation, because motivation won't matter anymore. What matters is that you've committed to yourself, and you'll do whatever it takes to achieve that goal. Discipline is unconditional commitment to the person you want to become. When you understand this, you'll realize that discipline is not a tool, but an essential part of how you live. It's the foundation that helps you overcome every challenge, keeps your vision steady, and helps you achieve great success in life. When you live with discipline, you don't worry about whether you have motivation or not. You simply act because you've committed to yourself and the person you want to become. Lack of persistence is the biggest reason why many people fail to achieve success. If you want to succeed, you need to learn persistence. Persistence is not an innate virtue that everyone has. It's a habit, a skill that needs to be cultivated and developed over time. And I'll tell you this, if you lack persistence, you'll never get close to what you want. No matter how talented you are, no matter how smart or wealthy you are, if you're not persistent, all those factors are meaningless. Persistence is the deciding factor. You will undoubtedly face challenges. You will face difficulties and failures. That's part of life, and it's also an essential part of success. But the issue is not those challenges. The issue is how you respond to them. If you give up the moment things get tough, you'll never succeed. Persistence is the ability to keep moving forward, to keep working even when everything seems impossible to overcome. Persistence is doing what's right even when no one sees, even when you don't get recognition, and even when everything seems to be against you. One of the things I've learned from years of working is that persistence is the key to overcoming any challenge. You can't just stop after each failure. You can't just quit because of a little difficulty. If you want to achieve something great, you must persist. You must continue, even if you have to start over, even if you face difficult days. If you give up, you will never see the final result of your efforts. Lack of persistence is why so many people never achieve their goals. They give up too soon, they're not strong enough to overcome challenges. They don't realize that those failures are just stepping stones that bring them closer to success, and that can only happen if they continue. When you persist, you will understand that failure is not the end, but a part of the learning process. Every failure is an opportunity to adjust, to find a better way, to learn and grow. No failure is useless if you know how to learn from it. But if you give up, you'll never get the chance to learn from your mistakes. That's why lack of persistence will cause you to lose this crucial opportunity. Persistence is the ability to get up after each fall and keep moving forward. Each time you fail, you get a new opportunity to try again and do better. I've met many people with exceptional talent, great passion, but in the end they couldn't succeed. Why? Because they lacked persistence. They couldn't overcome difficulties. They couldn't continue when they faced challenges. They wanted success right away. But they didn't understand that success is the result of a long process of unceasing efforts. Success doesn't come overnight, and if you're not persistent, you'll miss the chance to achieve it. Lack of persistence is why so many people never experience success. They lack the patience to endure the tough days, lack the persistence to keep working even when things don't go as expected. Persistence is a skill that you can develop over time. The important thing is to maintain persistence even when things aren't going smoothly. When you persist, you not only learn how to work hard, but you also learn how to stay determined, to keep a vision of your goal. You learn to accept that failure is not the end, but part of the journey towards success. Persistence doesn't mean you work endlessly without results. It means you must continue to improve, continue doing what needs to be done, and never give up when things seem impossible. The key to persistence is to maintain your vision and an unwavering commitment to your goal. When you persist, you don't always have to feel excited or motivated. You'll have difficult days, days when you don't want to do anything. But it's in those days that persistence is the deciding factor of whether you push through or not. You can't only work when you feel inspired. You have to work even when you don't feel like it, because you've committed to your goal and you know persistence will bring results. I've seen many people start with great passion, with a big vision, but they can't continue. Some people can't continue because they lack persistence. They don't have the patience to face challenges. Some can't continue because they lack motivation. And some people quit because they can't handle failure. But I want you to understand one thing. If you don't persist, you'll never experience success. No one can become who they want to be without persistence. When you persist, you're building strong habits and character, and it's these traits that will lead you to ultimate success. Success doesn't come to those with talent alone. It comes to those who persist, those who don't give up, those who keep working even when they face difficulties. When you persist, you're not just creating a result, you're creating an identity, a strong and resilient person. That's why persistence is the most important factor determining success. Lack of persistence is the reason you haven't succeeded yet. So if you want to change, if you want to succeed, be persistent. Don't quit. Don't give up. Keep going, and one day you'll realize that persistence is the only key that will lead you to the success you've always wanted. Discipline is not an abstract concept that you can easily define. It's not something you do in times of need, but rather a decision about who you are, about the identity you choose for yourself. Discipline is a long-term commitment, a recognition that everything you do in each moment, whether big or small, shapes the person you'll become in the future. More importantly, discipline is the decision you make about who you'll become, not by chance, not by circumstances, but by the choices you make every day. Many people think discipline is about obligation. They see it as a punishment, something forced upon them to achieve something. But the truth is, discipline is not about coercion. It is freedom. When you live with discipline, you are creating freedom for yourself because you know that your actions can take you anywhere you want to go, and you can trust the path you've chosen. Discipline is a choice, and like any choice in life, it depends on the decision you make about who you decide to be. So you may ask, if discipline is a decision, what does that decision mean? The answer is simple. It means committing to a better version of yourself. It's not the perfect version, not the ideal image you see in ads or beautiful pictures. The version you commit to is a persistent person, ready to face the challenges life throws at you, and always maintaining high standards of ethics and performance, no matter how tough things get. I've witnessed many people with talent, but they couldn't succeed. They started a project full of passion and hope, but then after some time they gave up. They couldn't get through initial difficulties or failures, so they quit. The reality is, in any major endeavor, initial failures are inevitable. But the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people keep moving forward, maintaining discipline and commitment. They don't give up when things get tough. They understand that it's in those difficult moments that their resilience is truly tested. Discipline is the deciding factor of whether you can continue on the path you've chosen or not. But you can only maintain discipline when you understand that the person you're building isn't something out of reach, but a natural part of yourself. Discipline is a decision about what you'll become. When you work persistently, when you refuse temptations, when you set aside temporary emotions to do what's important, you're not just working, you're building the person you want to become in the future. If you choose to live without discipline, you're choosing a path full of distractions and lack of direction. You'll never complete great goals. You may achieve temporary success, but you won't sustain it for long. This may sound harsh, but I'm saying this so you understand there's no substitute for discipline. You can have a dream, but if you don't have the discipline to do what needs to be done every day, that dream will remain an illusion. Discipline is not something you can choose whenever you feel like it. Discipline is a decision you must commit to every day, no matter how you feel. Successful people aren't the ones with the greatest motivation or those who always feel excited. They are the ones who have chosen to live with discipline, the ones who have chosen commitment to themselves and the path they've decided to follow. Discipline is what I've learned throughout my life, and that's why I can keep moving forward, keep breaking limits, and never stop pursuing the goals I've set. Lack of discipline is why so many people can't finish what they start. One day they're full of enthusiasm, and the next day they feel tired and give up. They don't persist, they don't maintain the commitment they made, and that's why they can't finish big projects. They can't achieve what they truly want. Discipline is what makes the difference between those who can maintain long-term effort and those who only work when motivated. If you want success, you must understand that discipline is the key to reaching your destination. The person you want to become depends on the decisions you make every day. You can't say, "I'll become a persistent person," without actually being persistent. You can't say, "I'll become a successful person," without the discipline to do what's necessary every day. Discipline is not something you can say and then hope it happens. It's something you must live with, day by day, hour by hour. You must decide that you won't quit. You'll keep working, no matter the challenges, no matter your emotions. Discipline is a commitment to yourself, a commitment to doing what's right, no matter how hard it gets. When you truly commit to the person you want to become, you realize that discipline is the key to achieving that. Discipline is not just about action, but about clearly showing who you've chosen to become. Every decision you make is part of the process of building your identity, and that's why discipline is so important. The right actions are not only the necessary steps to achieve your goals, but also the way you build self-esteem. Self-esteem is not something you find externally from compliments or recognition from others. It is something you build from within, through the actions and decisions you make every day. Self-esteem comes from doing the right things, whether anyone sees or not. It comes from keeping your commitment to yourself, maintaining discipline, and never giving up. Every right action you take is a brick that builds a solid foundation of self-esteem, a part of the person you become. I don't think any of us want to live a life without self-esteem. But to gain that self-esteem, you need to act correctly, even when no one recognizes you, even when there's no attention from the outside world. In fact, the fewer people who see you doing the right things, the fewer external encouragements you get, the stronger your self-esteem becomes. Because true self-esteem is not built from praise or external recognition, but from doing what you know is right, even when no one cares. True self-esteem comes from small actions that make a big impact. It's when you keep your promises to yourself. It's when you don't give up, even when you feel tired, even when you have no motivation. It's when you act, even though emotions are not there. When you work, even when no one sees. It's in those moments, when you stay true to your commitment, that a powerful sense of self-esteem is built within you. You realize you can trust yourself. You've done the hard work. You've overcome laziness and the easy way out. And that's something only you can feel. Self-esteem doesn't come from immediate results. It's not something you feel right after completing a task. Self-esteem is built over a long process when you continually do the right things, day by day, month by month, year by year. Every right action you take is a sign to yourself that you are valuable, that you can finish what you start, that you can trust yourself. That's why every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you're building a strong foundation for your self-esteem. Self-esteem doesn't come from showing off from what you can flaunt for others to see. Self-esteem comes from quiet actions, from doing the right things without needing recognition. When you do the right thing without needing anyone to see, that's when true self-esteem is built. And you don't need to wait for encouragement from others. You know you're doing the right thing, and that's enough. This self-esteem is not dependent on results, but on the process you go through. When you do the right actions, whether easy or difficult, you're building your self-esteem from the inside. I can give you an example from my own experience. During my work and development of projects, I faced many challenges. In tough times, when I felt like giving up, I didn't need to look for recognition from others. I reminded myself that every right action I take today will build self-esteem in me. This self-esteem is not from praise, but from maintaining discipline, from continuing to work even when everything seems impossible. Because of this, I was able to keep moving forward, not because I didn't face difficulties, but because I knew I was doing the right thing. Self-esteem is built through the small things you do every day. These are small decisions like waking up early, keeping promises, completing tasks on time, or rejecting temporary temptations to stay focused on long-term goals. These actions aren't grand, but they shape a strong person, one capable of facing life's challenges with confidence. And that is the self-esteem you're building from within. We all want recognition, and sometimes we seek encouragement from others, but true self-esteem comes from within you. It comes from knowing you're doing the right thing, no matter who sees. Self-esteem isn't something you can find in compliments or external success. It's something you create by doing the right things every day. You must learn to love yourself for the right actions you take, even when no one notices. Right actions won't just help you build self-esteem, they'll also help you achieve great results. When you start building self-esteem from small actions, you'll find your confidence growing stronger. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you'll feel you can do even more. This self-esteem doesn't just keep you motivated, it also helps you keep overcoming challenges in your journey. So if you want to build self-esteem, start doing the right things now. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until you get recognition from others. Do the right things every day, even if no one sees, and your self-esteem will grow stronger than ever. Nothing can change if you don't have discipline. These words may seem simple, but they are the truth. Without discipline, you cannot move forward, no matter how talented, creative, or well-planned you are. Discipline is the key factor in creating all change, all progress in life and work. It's not just a habit, it's a choice, a commitment you have to make every day. Without discipline, you'll always be stuck, unable to rise, and eventually miss out on all the great opportunities. You'll certainly face countless challenges and difficulties throughout your journey. This is inevitable. The most successful people in history have faced failures, moments when they felt they couldn't go on, but they didn't give up. They didn't abandon their path. They maintained discipline, held steady to their goals, and persisted no matter what was happening around them. If you lack discipline, you won't overcome those tough times. You'll easily give up when things get complicated. That's why, without discipline, nothing will change, because you will never do what's necessary to achieve your goals. A life without discipline is a life lacking purpose and progress. Discipline is what helps you focus on the most important things, helps you keep your vision while the world around you may be chaotic and distracting. When you have discipline, you don't wait until you feel ready or motivated. You act because you've committed to your goal. You don't have to do everything perfectly right away, but you have to do what's necessary every day to achieve long-term results. Discipline is self-control, so you can complete the important tasks regardless of your emotions or current circumstances. You can't wait for everything to be perfect. You can't wait until you feel motivated. That's why discipline is more important than everything else. It helps you act even without emotions or motivation. If you always wait for the right feeling to act, you'll miss many opportunities and you'll never see real results. I can give you an example. When I first started building companies, I didn't have all the resources or support I needed. These projects weren't always smooth, and I faced countless challenges, failures, and criticisms, but I didn't give up. I understood that discipline was the only thing that kept me on track. Every day, I had to keep working, keep giving, and do what was necessary, no matter how hard it got. I couldn't quit, because if I did, nothing would change, and I wouldn't achieve what I wanted. Discipline helped me overcome those challenges, and because of discipline, I was able to change. Change not just myself, but everything around me. Discipline also helps you maintain consistency. You can get a lot done in a day if you have discipline. Without discipline, you'll easily get lost, swept away by outside factors, and fail to complete anything. You'll start with enthusiasm, but after a while, when that excitement fades, you won't know what to do next. That's why discipline is important. It helps you maintain consistency in your actions, helps you stay on course, and never give up, no matter how many difficulties you face. A disciplined person isn't someone who always gets everything right from the start, but someone who always maintains motivation and effort, no matter how many failures or obstacles. I've always believed that success doesn't come from the smartest or most talented people, but from those who persist and have discipline. Successful people are those who never give up, never back down, no matter the challenges, failures, or difficulties. And to achieve that, you must learn self-control. You must learn to maintain discipline in your life. No one can change their life without discipline. You may have great ideas, you may have a clear vision, but if you don't act, if you don't have the discipline to take the small steps every day, you'll never see change. Discipline is not something complicated or out of reach. It's the small decisions you make every day. It's the decision to wake up on time, the decision to complete work even when you're tired, the decision to say no to temporary temptations to focus on long-term goals. These decisions may be small, but they make a big difference in your life. Discipline is the result of small actions repeated every day. If you don't have discipline, you can't change. But if you do have discipline, you'll have the strength to change everything. Discipline helps you overcome tough times. Discipline helps you maintain perseverance, and discipline helps you keep moving forward. You may face failure, you may face difficulties, but if you have discipline, you will always stand up and continue walking. And in the end, you'll realize that you've changed not just the environment around you, but yourself. Nothing can change if you don't have discipline. And if you want to change, if you want to achieve what you desire, you need to start building discipline today. Discipline is essential if you want to go far, and if you don't have it, you will never achieve what you want. Discipline is a decision about who you are, and if you choose to act with discipline, you'll see that nothing is impossible. To achieve results, you need perseverance, not perfection. This is a lesson I've learned throughout my career. Successful people are not the ones who always do everything perfectly from the start, but those who never give up, who continue to try and persist until they achieve their goals. The process of achieving results doesn't always follow a straight path. It's not always smooth. On the contrary, it's a journey full of challenges, mistakes, and failures. But it's within these failures and mistakes that you'll find the opportunity to learn and grow. And if you have perseverance, you'll never give up. You'll stand up and keep moving forward. I've met many people throughout my career, people with great ideas, people full of talent, but in the end they couldn't succeed. The reason is simple: they lacked perseverance. They couldn't overcome difficulties. They couldn't continue when faced with failure. They wanted success right away. They wanted everything to be perfect from the beginning. But the truth is, no one can achieve success without going through failures, without facing challenges. These failures are not the end, but an essential part of the journey toward success. And if you don't persist, you'll never learn from those failures. If you don't persist, you'll quit before you truly have a chance to achieve great things. There is no perfection in life. No product is perfect, no company is perfect, no person is perfect. Everything can be improved and changed. You cannot wait for everything to be perfect before you take action. Perfection never comes, and if you wait for it, you'll never get anything done. In fact, if you wait for perfection, you'll be left behind. Successful people are the ones who never wait for perfection. They know that to achieve results, they need perseverance and to keep working every day, even when things aren't perfect. When I started building my companies, I didn't have all the resources, I didn't have all the best conditions. I faced many challenges and failures. I wasn't the first person to come up with these ideas, and I wasn't the first to face these problems. But what mattered was that I never gave up. I learned that perseverance was the deciding factor. You may fail, you may make mistakes, but if you continue, if you persist, you will eventually achieve your goal. I couldn't have achieved the success I have today if I hadn't persisted and kept working even when facing difficulties or failures. Perseverance is not just a skill, it's a mindset. It's the ability to keep moving forward even when everything seems impossible. When you lack perseverance, you'll be overwhelmed by difficulties and obstacles. You'll feel tired, you'll feel like you can't continue. But if you maintain perseverance, you'll see that every small step forward matters. Every failure will become a lesson. Every failure will help you grow, bringing you closer to your goal. Perfection is not what you need to achieve results. What you need is perseverance and the ability to learn from each step you take. Persistent people don't seek perfection. They just seek ways to keep moving forward. They understand that success doesn't come from a big leap, but from small, consistent steps. Perfection is just an illusion, an ideal that can never be reached. If you wait for perfection before taking action, you'll miss many opportunities, and if you don't act, you'll never see results. Perseverance is also the key factor in maintaining motivation. When things get tough, when you feel like giving up, perseverance will keep you going. It's the drive that helps you keep moving forward, that helps you overcome difficult times and see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can't wait for inspiration or motivation to act. Motivation isn't always available, but perseverance is something you can control. And you might not feel like working, you might feel tired, but if you keep working, if you persist, you'll see progress, you'll see results. Finally, perseverance is the factor that makes a difference. Most people give up when they face difficulties. They quit when they encounter failure. But successful people are the ones who never give up. They don't wait for perfection, they don't seek ease. They persist in working even when they fail, even when it's hard. And that's why they succeed. If you want to achieve results, you need to learn perseverance. Learn how to keep going when everything seems impossible. Don't wait for perfection because perfection never comes. Only perseverance and continuous effort will bring you real results. Discipline is not a single act. It's not a breakthrough moment or a simple decision you make in a specific situation. Discipline is repetition, a series of small but consistent actions performed regularly every day. This may not produce immediate results, but it's the repetition of these actions that creates the difference, that creates sustainable outcomes. You may have a wise decision, you may have an inspiring moment, but without maintaining discipline and repeating those actions daily, you will never achieve lasting results. Successful people are not the ones with the strongest motivation in short bursts, but those who know how to maintain discipline over the years. They don't just work on the days they feel excited. They work when that feeling isn't there. They work even when no one is watching, even without any immediate rewards. This can only be sustained if discipline is an inseparable part of their life, if discipline is a habit repeated every day. And this perseverance is not something that can come and go, but a daily decision to act no matter what your emotions or circumstances are. If you look at the greatest achievements, you'll realize they are not the result of a single moment. They are the result of a series of small actions taken consistently. You can't achieve greatness with one giant leap. It's a series of constant steps, failures, challenges, but always maintaining discipline and continuing forward. Success is not something you can do once and wait for results. Success is a journey, and along that journey, discipline is a key factor in maintaining consistency and creating lasting results. I faced many challenges throughout my journey. While building my companies, I had to make tough decisions, faced big failures. But the important thing is, I never gave up, I didn't quit. Discipline is what kept me motivated, helping me stay strong even when everything wasn't perfect. I worked every day, even on days when I didn't feel excited, even on days when I felt tired. Because of this, even though I didn't always feel like I was progressing, I kept working, and in the end, these repeated actions brought me great results. Similarly, you can't expect to change with just one decision. You can't just act once and expect dramatic change immediately. Real change comes from maintaining that action over time. Imagine if you only worked hard for one day and then stopped. The results you expect will never come. Instead, you need to maintain small actions every day. Even if you don't see results right away, if you continue to persist, you'll see that gradually these actions will accumulate and become something great. Discipline is repetition, and repetition isn't simply doing something over and over again. It's consistently doing the things you know are necessary, whether or not you feel motivated. This repetition helps you build a habit that will gradually become your identity. When you have discipline, you don't just do the right things, you do them without thinking about it. Discipline helps you maintain progress every day without overexerting yourself, and once you've built a good habit, you won't need to hesitate or question yourself whether to do it or not. You will do it, and you will do it well. But one thing many people don't realize is that discipline is not something that can be built overnight. It's a long process. It's about repeating the right actions every day. It's about never stopping, even when you're tired or don't want to do it. Repeated actions create gradual results, and these results are not the perfection you expect, but continuous progress over time. Successful people are not the ones who get everything right from the start, but the ones who know how to maintain discipline and work consistently every day. Discipline is a choice. Every day you must decide whether to act in the way you know is right. The small decisions you make every day will gradually create big results. If you ignore these small decisions, you won't see the results you want. But if you persist, if you continue to act, even when it feels like you can't go on, you'll see that the results will come. Change is not something you can control immediately, but you can control your actions every day. And it's this repetition that will create lasting change. All great success comes from repeating the right actions. If you want to achieve success, you can't just do it once and stop. You must do it again and again and do it better every day. Discipline is what's necessary to sustain this process. And if you do it, you'll see yourself progress step by step. Nothing can change if you don't have discipline, and nothing can change if you don't persist in doing the necessary tasks every day. Discipline is action even when emotions aren't there. This is something many people overlook when they think about success and commitment. We often think that to achieve something, we must feel motivated, feel excited, feel energized. However, the truth is, you can't always feel that way. Motivation won't always be present in every moment. If you only act when you feel inspired, you'll find that you'll never accomplish anything big. Emotions won't always accompany you, and if you depend on them, you will always be limited. I can say that true success doesn't come from temporary feelings or short-lived excitement. It comes from perseverance and the commitment to doing the right actions, even when you don't feel like doing them. To succeed, you must act when you don't want to, when you feel tired, when you feel unmotivated. This is the real challenge. If you only do things when you feel comfortable, you'll never achieve anything of great value. Remember that in every big project, you won't always feel thrilled or energized. I don't always feel happy or motivated when working, but I still work every day. I continue to do what's necessary to move forward. What is discipline? It's acting when you don't feel like it. It's not when you feel inspired and everything is going smoothly. It's when you continue despite difficulties, even on days when you don't want to keep going. If I waited until I felt enough energy or motivation to do my work, I would never achieve my goals. That's why discipline is the key factor. You have to work even when you don't feel ready. Emotions are not the determining factor. Action is what makes the difference. When you act despite emotions not supporting you, that's when you're building discipline. You have to learn to act even without inspiration. I can explain this more clearly through my own work. When I started building SpaceX, nothing was easy. Everything faced doubts, difficulties. I didn't always have the inspiration to continue, but I understood that to achieve greatness, I had to maintain discipline. I had to work every day, not because I felt motivated, but because I had committed to myself and my vision. I couldn't just stop when things got tough. I had to act even when emotions weren't there. Emotions, whether good or bad, are always changing. One day you might feel great, full of energy and motivation, but the next day could be different. You can't rely solely on emotions to guide your actions. If you do, you'll only get half the job done. The truth is, emotions can make you feel tired, frustrated, or unwilling to continue. But discipline is acting even when emotions aren't there. You don't have to wait for the right emotions to start acting. You act because you decided to do so, not because of how you feel. When I developed Tesla, there were times I didn't know if the company could keep going. There were major difficulties, serious failures, but I understood that I had to keep working. I couldn't let emotions decide my actions. I had to act even when emotions weren't there. Every day I worked because I was committed to this mission, not because I felt great. Emotions don't determine results. Results come from persistent action. If you only work when you feel good, you'll never reach your goals. The difference between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people continue working when they don't feel like it, when they have no motivation, when they feel discouraged. Perseverance is the real power. And when you act, even when you don't feel like it, that's when you build your inner strength. We all face difficult times, times when we feel tired, times when we don't want to continue, but it's in those moments that discipline shows its strength. Discipline is when you don't let emotions lead you, but let your decisions lead your emotions. When you act even without emotions, you're creating a habit, a strong habit that helps you overcome all challenges. When emotions aren't present, you still continue. And that's what makes the biggest difference. A person with discipline is not dependent on emotions. They may not feel like working, but they continue. They may not feel confident, but they still act. That's what helps you get through tough times. If you want success, you need to learn how to act when emotions aren't there. You can't wait for emotions to come. You have to work even if emotions are not satisfied. Discipline is not something you only have when everything is perfect. Discipline is what helps you continue when everything is not perfect. Emotions can change, but your actions will decide everything. If you continue to act despite lacking motivation, despite emotions not being there, you'll see yourself progress. And that's the difference between successful people and those who stop when emotions don't support them. Discipline is action even when emotions aren't there. It's not when you feel filled with motivation, but when you have to keep going even without inspiration. It's in those moments that you'll see change. When you act without needing emotions to support you, you're building a solid foundation for long-term success. Letting go of what no longer fits is an important decision in the journey to building a successful life. We often fill our lives with so many things, habits, relationships, tasks, and responsibilities that we sometimes don't really need. We continue holding on to them because we're too familiar with them, because they feel safe in their stability, or even because we feel some sort of commitment we can't let go of. But the truth is, if you're not ready to let go of what no longer serves your goals, you'll forever be buried in an inescapable loop. When I began working with SpaceX and Tesla, one of the big lessons I learned was that letting go of what no longer fits is an essential part of moving forward. A company, just like a life, can only grow when you know what needs to be kept and what needs to be let go of. Letting go doesn't mean discarding things irrationally. It's a deliberate choice, a strategic act that helps you remove what's no longer effective and focus on what truly matters. Certainly, not everything in your life will have lasting value. There will be habits, jobs, relationships that no longer align with the path you're on. And these things will become burdens, wasting your energy and time. That's why letting go of what no longer serves you is necessary. I've learned how to not just disregard what doesn't bring value, but also proactively remove it so I can create space for new opportunities, new ideas, and new challenges. Consider an example from my work. When I started with SpaceX, many people said that launching rockets was incredibly expensive and difficult. It's a field full of risks, with high failure rates and costs beyond imagination. But I didn't accept this mindset. I chose to let go of old strategies, outdated technologies, and instead developed a completely new approach. Letting go of what no longer works was a part of that process. If I hadn't dared to do that, I'm sure SpaceX wouldn't have succeeded as it has today. This isn't just true for companies, but for our personal lives as well. Maybe you're spending time in relationships that no longer add value, doing jobs that no longer align with your long-term goals, or continuing habits that no longer help you grow. If you don't have the courage to let go of these things, you won't be able to go far. Sometimes, to move forward, you need to learn how to let go of things that no longer fit. Things that have expired in your life. Letting go is a way to free yourself. Once you remove what no longer fits, you'll find that you have more time and energy to focus on what matters. You won't feel pulled toward unnecessary things. Instead, you'll be able to focus on what's truly important, on what truly contributes to your growth and bigger goals. Letting go is an act that helps you rejuvenate your living space, not just in work, but also in personal life. Once you start letting go of old habits, unnecessary attachments, you'll realize you can do things you never imagined. You can create a more efficient work environment, a cleaner living space, and a more peaceful mind. Letting go isn't just about removing physical things, it's about eliminating negative thoughts, toxic relationships, and unhealthy lifestyles. When you can do that, you'll feel liberated and you'll be able to move faster and further. Letting go isn't an easy act. It's a challenging decision. Sometimes letting go of something can make you feel like you're losing. But the truth is, you're not losing anything. You're just creating space to welcome new opportunities, new challenges, and new values. We often fear change because we don't know what lies ahead. But if you don't change, you'll always stay stuck, never moving forward. Letting go of what no longer fits is the first step toward change and growth. My work and life, both in Tesla and SpaceX, are clear examples of letting go of what no longer fits. Difficult decisions to cut projects that didn't yield results, eliminate outdated technologies, or even reduce teams that no longer aligned with the company's vision. All these were essential parts of our development and success. Sometimes you need to make difficult decisions, but only when you do so can you go further and achieve greater goals. Letting go isn't just about quitting. It's about accepting that there are times in life when you need to change in order to progress. You can't keep holding on to things that no longer bring value to you. You have to learn to recognize them and bravely let them go. And when you do this, you'll discover that you can move forward stronger and faster. Letting go of what no longer fits will help you focus on what matters, on what can truly help you change and grow. Not everything you do in life is necessary to achieve your goals. You may need to let go of old habits, unproductive jobs, relationships that no longer provide support. And when you do so, you'll feel lighter, and you'll be able to focus all your energy on things that truly bring value. Only when you clean up everything around you can you create an environment that truly supports success. Letting go of what no longer fits is the way to unlock your potential. Don't let yourself be held back by what's no longer necessary. Don't hold on to things that have expired in your life. Let go and create space for better things, new opportunities, and new challenges. You'll realize that this act will help you grow faster than ever. Letting go is a wise decision that helps you recreate your life and move forward. Perseverance and discipline are two essential factors if you want to achieve greatness. Success is not something random or lucky. It comes from continuous effort, from your perseverance in pursuing your goals without being distracted by temporary difficulties or failures. More importantly, it's the ability to maintain discipline, to do the right thing even when you don't feel motivated or inspired. When you have discipline, you can overcome any challenge and persist until the end, even when the world seems to turn against you. When I started building SpaceX, I didn't think it would be an easy journey. Many people said that launching rockets was extremely costly and complicated, that I was just chasing an impossible dream. Everything seemed to be against me. We didn't have enough resources, experience, or support from those who had succeeded before us, but I knew that only perseverance and discipline could take us far. Keep going, and one day we would succeed, I always thought. And then, after many years of hard work and not giving up, SpaceX was able to successfully launch and open a new era for the space industry. What I want you to understand is that the road to greatness is not a smooth one. There will be no constant applause, no constant encouragement. There will be times when you feel alone, when you will be doubted, when you don't know whether you can continue. But the difference between successful and unsuccessful people is perseverance. Successful people don't give up when things get tough. They maintain discipline and continue acting even when no one sees or acknowledges their efforts. And the most important thing is they don't let emotions or temporary failures determine their ultimate success. When I built Tesla, I didn't just face challenges with technology and finance, but also continuous questions about the company's survival. Could we build an electric car that people actually wanted to own? Could we overcome doubts and become a global company? These questions didn't just come from outsiders, but also from people within my own company, those who walked alongside me in this journey. But I knew that there was no perseverance greater than discipline, and if we maintained discipline, stayed committed to our goal and mission, we would succeed. As a result, today, Tesla is not just a leading company in the automotive industry, but also a symbol of innovation and creativity. Perseverance doesn't mean doing the same thing endlessly without changing or improving. It's not about doing something just because you've decided to. Perseverance means you continue to improve, change, and adjust your strategies when necessary, but you never give up. A persistent person won't quit when faced with difficulties. They will try again, look for another way to achieve their goal. It's in those tough times that perseverance truly shines. That's when you can look at yourself and say, no matter how hard it gets, I'll still do this, I won't give up. Discipline is the factor that helps you maintain perseverance. Without discipline, you'll easily give up when things get tough. Without discipline, you'll allow emotions or circumstances to influence your actions, and thus you'll struggle to maintain perseverance. Discipline is what helps you keep working, even when you're not excited, when you feel tired or defeated. Discipline is working every day, not because you feel good, but because you've committed to your goal and you must achieve it. I don't deny that the path to greatness is challenging, but challenges are what help you grow. Perseverance and discipline are the tools you use to overcome those challenges. There will be times when you feel you've reached your limits, when it seems like nothing will progress. But I've learned that those are the moments you're closest to major change. If you maintain discipline and keep acting, you'll see results. And when you look back, you'll realize that those difficulties were important stepping stones to your rise. Perseverance and discipline are not only important in work, but in all areas of life. Whether you're building a company, learning a new skill, or pursuing any other goal, perseverance and discipline are indispensable. You can't achieve greatness with just a few tries. You must try again and again, learn from failures, adjust, and keep going. Each time you try again, you become stronger, and each time you complete a task, you'll feel prouder of yourself. Success is not the destination, it's the process, and it's the perseverance and discipline in that process that helps you maintain momentum. You may face failure, but that's not the end. Failure is just part of the journey. When you persist and maintain discipline, you'll see that each failure is just an opportunity to learn and improve. The important thing is, you don't give up. You don't let failure stop you. Failure is the opportunity for you to become greater. I've seen many talented people, many people with great ideas, but they couldn't maintain the perseverance necessary to bring those ideas to life. And the result was they gave up before they could see the outcome. It's not because they lacked ability, it's because they lacked perseverance and discipline. Greatness comes from those who don't quit, from those who persist, from those who maintain discipline throughout the journey, no matter how many challenges or failures they face. Greatness is not something you can achieve in a moment, not something you can obtain instantly. It comes from a long process, from a series of small but consistent actions. You must have perseverance to do what needs to be done every day, and you must have discipline to not be dependent on emotions or circumstances. When you have perseverance and discipline, you never have to worry about achieving your goals. You just need to keep working every day, keep acting, and you'll see that greatness will come to you. Greatness is the path you must persist in following. Act even when emotions aren't there, keep working even when no one is watching, and keep going even if you fail. That is the path to greatness.